Hello class. This video is going to focus on 1.3, which is about line segments. The goal of this video is I can calculate measures of line segments. You want to open your textbook to page 19, where you will begin to take notes. Okay, we are going to talk about the betweenness of points. So we have a definition. So a line segment is a measurable part of a line that consists of 2 points called endpoints and all of the points between them. The 2 endpoints are used to name that segment. So if I have a line segment, and I'm going to just draw 2 points on that segment, and I'm going to call them A and B. So the way I name a line segment is I draw a segment above, and then I name it with the 2 letters. So segment AB. So keep in mind, if it's a line, it goes on and on and on forever, and you draw the arrows at the end. But if I'm just talking about the area between A and B, then that's just a segment. For any 2 real numbers A and B, there is a real number n between A and B such that A is less than n and n is less than B. This relationship also applies to points on a line and is called betweenness of points. So this is just basically saying if I have 2 points on a line, there is a point in between them. Okay, this is a key concept, betweenness of points. So point C is between A and B if and only if A, B, and C are collinear. Remember, collinear means they're on the same line. And then AC plus CB equals AB. So I'm just going to draw an example of this. So we have this line, and we have point A, point B, and then somewhere in the middle is point C. And we know that AC, so this section, plus CB, this section, has to equal the total section from A to B. So this is the talk about it section on the side of your page. So what is an example of how the betweenness of points can be applied to the real world? So we can apply betweenness of points to anything that is a straight line. So if you think about total distance when traveling somewhere. So I came up with the example, if you know the distance from Racine to Fort Atkinson, and then Fort Atkinson to Madison, then you can find the total distance by adding those 2 distances together, and you'll get the distance from Racine to Madison. So that's just a practical application of betweenness of points. Okay, example 1, this is on page 19. We want to find measurements by adding. So find the measure of xz. So we have the measure of xy, and we have the measure of yz. So we know that xy plus yz is going to be equal to the total measure of xz. Now, when I did not put segment lines above it, anytime I don't put segment lines above it, it's specifically talking about the measure. So if it's talking about the measure, we don't put a symbol above it. Okay, so I know, let's see, I know xy is 11.3 centimeters. I know that yz is 3.8 centimeters. And I'm going to add those together to get xz. So 11.3 plus 3.8 is going to be 15.1 centimeters. So that is my answer. Segment XZ is 15.1 centimeters. Okay, here's one for you to check. I want you to try it on your own. Pause the video. When you are done, you can start the video again and then check your answer to make sure it's right. And then here is the answer you should have gotten. You should have gotten 8 3/5 inches. If it's a fraction in fraction form, I prefer for you to keep it as a fraction. It does not make it wrong if you change it to a decimal, but you can just throw it in your calculator and keep it as a fraction. Okay, here's example 2. This is on page 20. We want to find measurements by subtracting. So it's pretty much the same as what we just did, except for now we're going to be given the total distance, and we're going to be given one of the smaller distances, and we have to find the other smaller distance. So for this, we want to find the measure of segment QR. So we know point Q is between points P and R. So we start off by just setting up a little equation. So we know that PQ plus QR is equal to the big length of PR. So that's what you see here, and that is due to the betweenness of points. Okay, now we're going to substitute the measurements that we do have. So we know PQ is 6 5/8 feet. So 6 5/8. And then we don't know QR, that's what we're trying to find. And that is equal to the total length of PR, which is 13 3/4 feet. Now, in order to find QR, we're going to subtract. This is just solving an equation. So if I want to get QR by itself, I'm going to subtract 6 5/8 from both sides. So minus 6 5/8. And then these would cancel out. And 13 3/4 minus 6 5/8. And I am doing that on my calculator. And I'm going to get 7 1/8 for my answer. So QR is 7 1/8, and I'm going to just put feet on the end. So this is my answer. Okay, here's one for you to check on your own. I want you to try the problem, pause the video. When you are done, start the video again and check your answer. And here's the answer. You should have came up with 6.5 centimeters for the measure of segment PQ. Okay, example 3, we want to write and solve equations to find measurements. And this is on page 20. So we want to find the value of x and BC. So we have two things we're trying to find here. We're trying to find x and BC. And it says that B is between A and C. And we know that AC is 4x minus 12. AB is x. And BC is 2x plus 3. So they did draw the diagram for us, but this is very easy. We could have easily drawn this ourselves. Okay, so I am going to set up an equation. So I know that if I take both of these sections, so AB plus BC, it's going to be equal to AC. So I'm just going to write that down. So I have AB plus BC equals AC. And now I'm going to substitute the values that I know. So I know AB is x. I know BC is 2x plus 3. And I know AC is 4x minus 12. Okay, so now we have an equation and we need to solve for x. So remember, x is one of the things that we do need to find. So we got to think back to last year in Algebra 1. We want to solve this equation. So right off the bat, I see that I have like terms on the same side of the equation. I have x plus 2x. And remember, you can throw a 1 in front of that x if it helps you at all. Anytime there's no number in front of a variable, put a 1. So now I have 1x plus 2x, and that's going to give me 3x. And then I'm just going to bring everything else down. Okay, so now I'm going to try to get variables on one side and the constant terms on the other side. So I always like to move my variables to the left side, but you can do it the other way around too. But I'm going to subtract 4x. And I know that your book has fill in the blanks, and I just cannot do that for solving equations that way. So if you want to fill in the blanks, feel free to. Otherwise, you can write it like I'm doing. So I'm going to do minus 4x on this side. And then 3x minus 4x is negative 1x. And then plus 3 comes down. My equal sign comes down. 4x minus 4x cancels out. And then I have negative 12 left on the right side. Okay, so now I'm going to get my constant terms together. So in order to move positive 3 to the other side, I need to subtract 3 from both sides. And then negative 1x comes down. 3 minus 3 cancels out. And then negative 12 minus 3 is negative 15. And please feel free to use a calculator to do this arithmetic. Don't make a mistake on the arithmetic. Check yourself with a calculator. And then last thing we're going to do is divide both sides by negative 1 in order to get x by itself. So negative 1 divided by negative 1, that just becomes 1, or x. And then negative 15 divided by negative 1 is positive 15. Okay, so that's our first step. We got x equals 15. So that's the first thing they wanted us to find. The second thing we need to find is BC. Okay, so in order to find BC, I'm going to take the measure of BC that they give us. So they say BC is equal to 2x plus 3. So I'm going to start off with 2x plus 3. And then I'm going to substitute the value we just found for x. So the value we just found for x was 15. So I'm going to substitute that into that expression. So I have 2 times 15 plus 3. Well, 2 times 15 is 30, and 30 plus 3 is 33. Okay, so the measure of BC is going to be 33. Okay, that is the end of this video. Remember, you need to do the quiz for this video and get a 75% in order to move on to the practice. Otherwise, you should redo the video.